Look at me, I'm Peter Pan. I'm a little boy forever.
You'd rather it be that?
Oh, no way. Oh my god! No way! Oh my
Welcome, everybody, to episode 132 of 1 million of the Serial Chillers podcast. As always, I ask, how goes it? Hello, Greg.
Hanging out, definitely not scrambling to get caught up on stuff. How's it going with you?
Pretty well. I wrote a scorecard down. If you don't want to keep score, I will this time. We'll switch off weeks. That's fun.
I guess
we're
just
here
fuck
with
all the work I've done then, yeah.
Yeah, fuck you. Or double check it. Dude, you just did the Johnny Carson throw. Did you see? This is why you guys should have asked us to keep video. We're here with a couple of guests you guys will remember from the past, but we'll get more from them in a minute. Let me break this show down for anybody that doesn't know how it works. Anybody, it's your first time. Maybe it's just been a while and you skipped the last episode. You're jumping back in, breaking the rust off.
First time.
You know what? I'm going to say right now that I realized 2 days ago that I was so rusty on the last episode, and if you're listening to them in order, you'll already be like, why the fuck didn't you do it? I did not do a high pitch in what year?
I thought we were trying something new for the new season, so I didn't bring it up.
I literally forgot.
In what year?
Yeah. Because the question wasn't
came through
in
like
what
James
year was
Earl
this person
Jones.
born. It was a little different. So, okay. Most of you know how the show works. Let me explain it for anybody that doesn't. Each week I sit down with old friends, new friends, good friends, and bad friends to tell them the story of an infamous serial killer, something true crime, dark, creepy, unsolved, or otherwise mysterious. I said I a lot. Greg's going to be doing quite a few episodes this season, too. So
Don't you put that on me, White Devil.
Y Quincy Ocha. If something isn't clear, be sure to chime in, because if you have questions about questions, be sure to ask questions, because I cannot answer questions about questions if you never ask questions. Are there any questions?
No.
Nope.
Then welcome to and let's play the Serial Chillers podcast. It's supposed to be music. It'll be there in post, guys. Don't worry.
Pause for theme song and scene.
Today's episode, tell me, have you guys heard of Richard Kuklinski?
Yes.
Yeah. We actually just watched the HBO series like a week ago about
the
him.
first time I've seen.
Wow. So you guys should get a lot of these questions correct then.
I'm waiting for them to start correcting you. You're like,
no.
19 and they're like, no.
Here's the thing is, don't start saying things that you remember about him just in case the other ones forgot by now.
Me. Go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? There's probably some ones that are going to be so easy, but like at the same time, keep it together. Don't be throwing out any facts you knew about him, because it might be a question and you might be giving it away to your person that knows a lot. So this could be a high scoring affair then. We've got 12 questions total. References and citations for the show. The 3-part HBO series. Don't say the name. Wikipedia, criminalminds.fandom.com, allthat'sinteresting.com, and the 3-part Last Podcast on the Left series, which if you guys are still interested in him and want to know like a lot more from a lot of different sources, I don't know if you guys listen to Last Podcast normally, but they're pretty in depth, and in this episode they were. That's why I was texting Greg this week telling him, dude, what I'm leaving out of this episode could be a whole nother episode. That's how much Richard Kuklinski information there is. Might be because he's a dumb fucking idiot liar, but either way, it's a very long, interesting story. So guys, find us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Threadless Store, Patreon, Discord, P.O. Box 1229, Clovis, California 93613, SerialChillersPod.com for all that information. If you are hearing this now, and you are a person who was
not subscribe to
Patreon-
lonelyfans.com with two
with two
Z's.
Z's.
Please sign up.
If by the time you've heard this, it'll be about a month from now for us, Greg, and you have not received your Patreon rewards, reach out to us through the email or the phone number. We 100% see those every single time. 1-805-666-2513 or serialchillerspodcast@gmail.com. We don't miss those. Of all of the locations you can send us a message, those are 100% the best. We don't ever intend to forget things. Sometimes it doesn't happen a lot, but Patreon will also fuck up our tiers in a way that we don't see it. So if you have subscribed at all through Patreon or giving through Patreon and you haven't got what you have paid for, basically, let us know, please, so we can get it for you, because we
Except
love
for
you
one
and
of
want to
you.
make sure you do. And not to use it as an excuse anymore, but Greg and I just sort of went through a huge transition where I moved 2,600 miles across the country, and
It
we're
doesn't
kind of
mean we
figuring
love
out.
each other any less. It doesn't mean we love you guys any less. We're just trying something new for a while.
So,
Also,
both like entering new roles for the show, like we've definitely changed a lot, as you guys know. So, if by the time you're hearing this, it's like the end of October now, let us know. We'll get you your stuff and make sure you're taken care of. Sorry, Greg, what are you about to say?
there is one person who didn't get their Patreon stuff, and that was on purpose.
Ha.
Cool.
I don't know who it is. I haven't decided yet. But one of you will not be getting
Oh my
your
God.
stuff. If it's you, suck it.
Well, there you go. Hopefully it's someone at the $1 tier. All right.
It's the one
So-
person who donated $10,000.
Yeah, the Disneyland
I'm
trip.
not going. I'm not fucking going.
Today's guests, you guys have they've been here together before. They've been here separate before. At least Dustin has. I don't know if Ashley's ever been on without Dustin, but they generally come as a pair these days. One time I married them. Not in the like I got married to them, but I was the dude who married them.
Whatever, you
so that-
polygamist.
Yeah, we nixed Utah, so I had to say goodbye. Yeah, what Utah? We get digs in on everybody tonight. Welcome back to the show, Dustin and Ashley.
What up?
Hello.
And yes.
Applause from the studio audience. What were you gonna say? And yes, what?
And yes, I've only ever been on with this man. And
All right,
I'm
next time
excited.
I'll invite you without him.
Thank you. That would be fun because I was gonna say this is our third or fourth time, and he's won every time. So I'm hoping he fell asleep about when we watched this.
Oh, funny! What made you guys watch this series so recently? Like, the most recent one is
When
15 years old,
when
20 years
me,
old.
You told me you invited them on, and so I just shot him a text and
No.
said, "Hey, here's what's coming up."
No.
No, it's because everything on TV sucks. There's nothing good. So we were just like scrolling through like the A to Z listing
And he-
on HBO, and I was like, "Ooh, Richard
I was gonna
Kuklinski."
say,
Yeah,
fuck,
and
man, you
he
made it all the way
asked
to the
me-
R's.
Yeah.
He asked me if I knew who he was, and I didn't. So I gotta say before we start, this has nothing to do with anything that's coming up. I actually liked the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? You almost made me mad right there.
Liked him.
I don't know what it was, but you almost made me mad right there.
I was like, this would be a good dad.
How was my Richard Kuklinski?
That was pretty good.
He's like, yeah, this is original. I don't know if it's original. It might be. I took the guy, threw him over my shoulder like I was the tree, huh?
That's sick as fuck, though, dude. I want to be the tree.
Oh, he was the tree. Okay.
Here we go.
Question number 1.
Here we
Here we go. In what year was Richard Kuklinski born?
I made up for last week.
I tried. And for all those people who liked last week, in what year was Richard Kuklinski born? And for everybody who wants to go the exact opposite, in what year was Richard Kuklinski born? What if I talk like this?
Dustin says 1943. Ashley says 1939.
Give Ashley 250 points because Richard Kuklinski was born on April 11th, 1935. Y'all were giving him a little bit. He looked good, huh? He looked good.
Well, now I find out that documentary was, what did you say, 13 years old?
Yeah. The newest one. I think the first one's like 28 years old.
That was the first one we watched. Was the first one.
Yeah. I think it's from the mid 90s. I'm still not gonna. No, it's from the early 90s. 92, 01, 03 were the 3 years for his documentaries. So he was born in his family's apartment on 4th Street, Jersey City, in New Jersey. His father and mother were both Polish immigrants. His father was Stanley Kuklinski, and his mother was where'd her name go? Cecilia. So, as many of the people we cover on this show, he had a very normal, well-adjusted, totally healthy childhood with 2 amazing parents who were constantly there for him. Oh wait, you guys watched a different documentary, or no? Richard Kuklinski from the beginning had just the most fucked up life. Let's see, his dad was born in 1906, his mom in 1911. So like we're talking about some pretty old school folks right here, right? Like maybe some of the like toughest generations to ever have to like they. So I believe that they came to America in the late 20s from Poland. So, yeah, when was the Dust Bowl?
29.
Yeah, so they lived in Jersey. I think they came to America, like I said, in the late 20s. But anyway, his father was a brakeman on the Delaware Lackawanna Western Railroad. Say that 3 times fast. If I'm not mistaken, a breaker is that like job where like nobody has 10 fingers.
I thought breakers were the guys that went and like busted up the unions.
No, I think the brakemen. Brakeman is the brakeman.
Like a stevedore.
I think they're the ones who break the. I should have looked this up.
I got you.
Okay, either because I feel like I read something where like they're the ones who operate the brakes, but then also the dudes who like separate and connect the trailers. I thought was also referred to as a brakeman. I could be wrong. What the fuck do I know about trains?
They're a rail transport worker whose original job was to assist the braking of a train by applying brakes on individual wagons.
Well, there you go. Okay, so
wagons?
that's wagons.
Did you say wagons?
What way?
Wagons.
Whiskey. So,
I just picture
his
this
mother
clown running around a fucking train trying to slap brake pads on each wheel as it. Come on, keep up! I can't. This is gonna cause my kid to be a serial killer.
So his mother was Anna Cecilia, again born in 1911, a devoutly Catholic first generation Irish American who worked in a meatpacking plant. Irish and Polish, that's what it is. Irish mother, Polish father. He was the second of 4 children. His younger brother, Joseph Kuklinski, who was born in 1944, was eventually convicted in a 1970 rape of a 12-year-old girl named Pamela Dial. And after he raped her, like he took her to a rooftop with her dog, raped her, and then threw her and her dog off the roof.
Oh, shit.
Like a 5th floor, I believe. When asked about his brother's crimes, Kuklinski replied, "We come from the same father." According to Kuklinski, his father was a violent alcoholic who beat his children basically constantly and occasionally turned it on his wife. So like when he was sick of beating his kids, he's like, "All right, I'll smack around my wife a little. You guys get the night off, huh?"
Just once a week he squares up with his wife like a boss fight.
Yeah, and she's strong as fuck, so it was pretty even.
She's an Irish Catholic. Yeah, man, she's
Yeah.
strong. She's strong as fuck. She's gonna whoop your ass and make you feel bad.
So eventually Stanley would abandon the family while Richard was still a child, but we would return periodically, usually while incredibly drunk. And during his returns, they usually just led to beatings for somebody in the family, if not everybody. I think of that video where the guy's just like slapping all the kids. The adults start coming up, he just starts slapping them in the face too. Like that's just Richard Kuklinski's father. He just went home all faded. He's like, "Yeah, I need to beat up on some shit that for sure can't beat me."
I believe that that's an acceptable way to handle people in public. Just start slapping.
Just
people.
one slap.
I wish.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. I challenge you to a duel.
But hey, leave it in public. Don't bring it home to your family.
Sure.
Fight
sure.
strangers. Don't fight your family or your friends.
So at some point, one of these beatings in 1940 would result in the death of Richard's older brother, who at the time was 7. Yeah, so when you say older brother, it wasn't like, oh yeah, I was 14, he was 16. No, his father was beating the shit out of a 7. So Richard's father, I think, hit him a lot more than that, though, unfortunately. And basically they lived in like tenement housing. So they had like a one room. It was one room. It wasn't like a one room apartment. It was like it was one room. So his entire family saw the
loft.
killing. Sure. Yeah, that's a fancy thing to call it. Um,
It's a studio.
and
Apartment.
his parents, yeah, exactly. His parents told the other kids, like, hey, you know, you don't say anything about this. And when they eventually called the authorities, they said that Florian had fallen down the stairs.
Ultimate excuse.
So,
he fell down the stairs and Dad was waiting at the bottom, really pissed off, so he beat him to death.
Yeah, and just what did he tumble? Nope, just bounced exclusively on his head. I don't know, very weird. Anna was reportedly often very abusive herself, so she would beat Richard with broom handles. Richard claims that sometimes these handles would break on his body during the assaults, and he would regularly get assaults with common household objects. So just picture it, like if it swings good, Anna was like, I'm gonna fuck him up with this. Can you just see her walking around the house testing shit, like picking it up all?
How about this?
Yeah, like
Oh yeah, this has got good weight to it right here.
He's lucky he was born before the aluminum bat generation.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. Wood bats fucking suck too.
Yeah.
Anyway, I get what you're saying. The bat speeds are insane with those things.
Brooms.
So,
think about the brooms back then. They weren't just like.
Well, and imagine, like, she was probably got more pissed at him when the broom broke over him. She's like, you hard-headed piece of shit. I got to get a new fucking
Breaking
broom
my
now?
broom. What do you think?
Yeah,
I am,
it starts just beating him with the other side. So he recalled an incident during his preteen years when his mother attempted to kill his father with a kitchen knife. Anna was a zealous Catholic, again we say this because, you know, we got to point it out a lot, and believed that stern discipline should be accompanied by a strict religious upbringing, you know, a sucky life. Richard, therefore, was raised in the Roman Catholic Church and served as an altar boy.
I can just see her like sitting at the dinner table. The whole family's sitting there. The dad's like, these boiled potatoes aren't that great. And she's like, that's it. I'm taking off your pinky. And she gets a kitchen knife and just tries to, she's like, this is discipline.
Kuklinski would later reject Catholicism altogether and regarded his own mother as, quote, cancer, who destroyed everything she touched. So, you know, he felt pretty strongly about his mom, and it was not in a good way. Which is funny because, like, he doesn't talk a lot of shit about his dad, doesn't he? But he's like, my mom was fucking cancer, though.
He's still afraid
My
of his
dad beat some pretty good ass. I'll swear, that guy could beat ass like no one else beat ass. I respect him for that.
Not a great dad, but he's got a great right hook.
So there are some claims that Richard may have killed somebody as young as like 13 years old with a broomstick. Again, he learned from the best. Basically, the story says that he beat up like a neighborhood bully, but he just kind of went a little too far. It's kind of like Richard's story and Richard's story alone. It's more likely that he became probably basically what you could consider a serial killer somewhere around the age of 19, because he claims to, and some of this can be corroborated, that he was beginning to kill homeless men in the alleys of New York, Newark, and Hoboken. So he's just like finding homeless dudes and finding new fun ways to kill them. He claims that he killed at least 50 men in this way just because of the pleasure it gave him. And not sexual pleasure. Like, he's never been... it's the thrill for him. He's like, it's like skydiving for someone, you know? Like, he's not getting off on it in the... Yeah. Kill 50 men! I just had to get my shins. So he experimented with different killing techniques, as he would throughout his life. According to him, he was soon working as an enforcer and contract killer for New Jersey's DeCavalcante crime family, which would later serve as the model for the fictional DeMeo family from The Sopranos. At 6'4" and 250 pounds, the hair-trigger temper and array of weapons, Richard Kuklinski was like a pretty fucking scary person. 6'4", 250... basically like would kill you if you crossed him in any way. Kind of like, I think when you watch the docs, and you guys just did, sometimes he's talking and you're like, this guy's such a fucking bullshitting asshole. And then sometimes he's fucking terrifying. And I think anybody who's got the combination of those two things where you're just not sure what's truth or not, it's better to just err on the side of caution. So
I don't know,
he
dude. I
was.
think if I had a broomstick, I could defend myself.
Yeah. Basically, if what he says is true, he was a very skilled and trusted hitman by 1960, and he began doing work for the New York crime families, earning up to 5 figures per job. Yet he continued to live in low-income housing in New Jersey because of his penchant for gambling. So,
Damn,
dude liked to throw the dice, you know, but he had to murder people to keep up the habit.
I mean, he's making a killing.
Hey. So, according to a book written about Kuklinski, he may have been killing as early as 13 and being paid for it as early as 15 with a gang he joined called the Coming Up Roses crew.
That's not
question.
That's not lame at all.
Coming Up Roses. Question number 2. Now, I'll tell you now, this is one you probably know. Keep it in your head. So I have multiple choice. If you guys want to stab for 1,000, you're welcome to do that because it's going to be information that's pretty fresh in your mind. This might separate it where someone's like, fuck, if I hear it, I'm going to know it. And, you know, so we'll see. Question number 2. After a murder in which he didn't hesitate at all, his crew, the Coming Up Roses crew, gave him a new nickname. What was it?
Do you guys want to stab, or do you want to?
You guys want to stab at it, or you want to hear him?
I can't remember.
I know he has a nickname, but it's probably not the one I'm thinking of because he wasn't given the nickname by that crew.
Yeah, I don't remember.
So I want my choice.
Okay, so here are the nicknames. A, the Outlaw. B, the Iceman.
Oh, yeah.
C, Killer. Or D, Wrathful Richard.
Killer, kill. Killer, kill.
The Killer, B!
What was the first one?
The Outlaw. The Iceman. Killer. Or Wrathful Richard.
Ashley says.
Wait, let Dustin get it down. See, he's still writing.
Ashley says B. Dustin says A.
Okay, Dustin. I already see like his thought process happening here because the thing is, there's a lot of controversy over where this nickname came from.
The controversy.
The controversy. So we're going to give Ashley 250 points because it is the Iceman. And I'm going to explain Dustin. I can see how mad he is about not getting these points.
This is bullshit.
Asterisk.
HBO told me this.
Exactly. And there are more sources because HBO used basically, so when he first came out, there was a lot of information that he was freezing bodies. And that was why like he's the Iceman and he's already known as the Iceman. We didn't even make that up. We're just using it. And
gives Danny DeVito
realistic
vibes. I'm the Iceman.
Realistically, the Iceman probably only froze one body ever. And I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of the answers like this I get come from Marcus Parks' research on last podcast, and I'd usually reference it from there and move on. And the Coming Up Roses crew was likely the place where the Iceman came from, but the Coming Up Roses crew isn't necessarily what Richard says it was, so they might not have been a murder crew. But that's where the Iceman nickname likely came from and continued through most of his life. He was known as Iceman or Big Rich or the Pollock.
Are you satisfied with that answer?
No.
Okay.
All right, well, you take that up with
I
Marcus Parks then.
I think that's why we watched it, is because you said, you haven't heard of the Iceman?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I've never heard of that.
No,
Iceman.
I know. Yeah, whatever. I know what
Hey,
his
Dustin.
nickname is. What?
Plenty of time. Plenty of time.
Oh, great.
So it ended up being an accidental trick question for Dustin just now. Okay. Kuklinski's first wife, Linda, was 9 years his senior. You know, he's out there cougar chasing.
Oh, by the way,
they had two.
We didn't make it to R on the list. We made it to I.
Oh, for Iceman?
Yeah.
K. Oh, I. I'll say made it to K. Okay, so they had two sons, Linda and Richard Jr. and David. While working for a trucking company, he met Barbara Pedrisi, a secretary at the same firm. And from what I understand too about meeting Barbara, like she basically went out with him because she was like, nah, fuck it, I'm bored. And then after like going out with him once, he basically like was just like, hey, yeah, you're mine now. And they're like, oh, okay. And she's like, eventually would be married. So Richard and Linda would be divorced, and he would marry Barbara in September of 1961 and had two daughters, Merrick and Kristen, and a son, Dwayne. Barbara described his behavior as alternating between good Richie and bad Richie. Good Richie was a hardworking provider, an affectionate father, and a loving husband who enjoyed time with his family. That's fucking sweet, dude. Like, that sounds nice. Good Richie. Good for you. Barbara said that when Merrick became seriously ill one time, Richard like stayed home and took care of her and was like ultimate dad. Like, not saying that not a lot of dads do this, but just for her, seeing him have such a kind heart was like, oh, maybe this is a good guy. Bad Richie would just show up from time to time. You know, he'd go out to get a pack of smokes and just disappear for a few days. Classic. Sometimes he said sometimes not appearing for months. He was prone to unpredictable fits of rage and would often smash furniture and beat on his family. So, you know, apple doesn't fall far from the tree type situation here. During this time, he'd be physically abusive to his wife, one time breaking her nose and giving her a black eye, and very emotionally abusive towards his children. Merrick later recalled that he once killed her dog right in front of her to punish her for coming home late.
Damn.
But Merrick also said that like Richard would tell her constantly, like, "Hey, you're my favorite kid. You know that. If I ever killed all these fuckers, I wouldn't kill you that hard. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like
I'd only kill you a little bit.
Yeah, he wouldn't know.
in my kids' power rankings, you're definitely at the number one spot." So Barbara stated that she had once told Richard that she wanted to see other people. He responded by silently jabbing her from behind with a hunting knife so sharp she did not even feel the blade go in. He told her that she belonged to him and that if he tried to leave, he would kill her entire family. When Barbara began screaming at him in anger, he just choked her into unconsciousness.
Smooth.
In one of the HBO docs, Richard talks about this situation, putting the knife in the back, and he says something like, yeah, after that, she got my point.
Oh, boo. Boo. Fucking boo.
I swear, dude, he doesn't just. At one point in this interview, in one of them, do you guys remember this part when, like, they're like, he's like, with the, I think it's the last one, the Iceman and the Psychiatrist. That really quickly, I'm going to give these doc titles because I didn't want to give them away earlier. The Iceman tapes, Conversations with the Killer. That was 1992. The Iceman Confesses, which Secrets of a Mafia Hitman, 2001, and Iceman and the Psychiatrist were the 2003.
I think we only watched one.
Yeah, we watched the first one.
Okay, and so they call the whole series the Iceman Confessions, basically, because he says a lot of shit. He and the psychiatrist are laughing, so you guys might not have seen this part. And he like, his face just gets hella serious and goes, you know, we're having too much fun here. I was just like, God damn, dude. I would not want to be in a room with that guy at all. You almost made me mad right there. You almost made me mad. I don't know why. You almost made me mad. Like, dude, this guy's gonna murder this motherfucker. Okay, so yeah, he's got terrible puns, Greg. That's really the last one he's got, but it's bad enough to like keep in your memory.
Honestly, if he had done nothing else other than stab her and make that pun,
Is it still a fuckface to you?
death row.
Death row. America's oldest daughter would also remember a number of road rage incidents involving her father, some of which he pulled weapons out on other motorists.
Now,
Kuklinski's. Yeah.
I'm not here to defend serial killers, but I will defend road rage. It's perfectly acceptable.
I'm a thumbs down guy. I
will
stopped using the
brandish
middle
a weapon.
finger. I go for all right, brandish the weapon is Greg's way. I say go thumbs down, guys. It's hard for people to get mad. They're usually just disappointed in themselves.
Yeah, I mean, if we're driving along and you hit me with a thumbs down and, you know,
I point at a Glock 9 at you.
I don't have any. I don't have that, but like I don't know, so, like a BB gun that's been painted to look like a real gun
Oh my
with
god.
with the orange cap pulled off.
Yeah, you painted over the orange cap.
Yeah, that I grab for in my waistband
Oh
really
my
fast.
God.
Kuklinski's family and Dumont. Oh, sorry. Kuklinski's family had moved to Dumont, New Jersey, and they were unaware of basically everything Richard did was in secrecy, like how he brought in his money, what he did to bring that in, when he would be home, when he was going to beat the shit out of them.
Don't ever ask
his
me
neighbors
about
and
my business.
that was a pretty good Kuklinski, Greg.
Really, I was trying to do Fat Tony.
Yeah, well, that's basically the same thing. Except for he was Polish. So Barbara described him as a wholesale distributor and said he employed an accountant. She did suspect that some of his income was from illegal activities due to their lifestyle and large amounts of cash he often possessed. However, given his volatility, and she never expressed any of these worries to him. Instead, just kind of don't ask, don't tell. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Don't tell me how you're making that money. Just keep making that money, Playboy. Hey, can you not stab me in the back anymore? If Richard suddenly left the house in the middle of the night, Barbara would never ask where he was going. They would eventually divorce in 1993 when Richard was in prison. Barbara said the divorce was for, quote, money reasons and continued to visit him in prison about once a year. On June 6th, 1984, Kuklinski filed a personal bankruptcy listing debts of $160,697 and assets of $300. So yeah, he's coming up a little short on the debt. In the mid-1960s, Richard Kuklinski would get a job that would get him started in the life of organized crime. Question number 3. What was this job? Was he A, a pharmacist's assistant, B, working at a Lincoln dealership, C, a janitor at a pharmaceutical company, or D, printing negatives at a film lab?
I mean, I know what a Lincoln dealership is, but I like to think they're just selling gently used ex-presidents.
Gently used what?
Ex-presidents.
I want my Lincoln with the beard. Well, you know, he didn't really have the beard. I don't care. I want the beard in addition.
This one's the convertible model. The top's gone.
No.
Dustin says D. Ashley says C.
That's 250 points for Dustin because, yes, what would get him into basically a life of organized crime is the fact that he worked at a Manhattan film lab printing negatives. And through the lab, he would learn from some like other film printers. Basically, he would get access to master copies of popular films. You know, he's like printing negatives, putting them on reels for movie theaters. But with all that equipment, he would learn how to make copies of these masters and then go and like sell them. You know, like he'd get it started with Disney movies.
Good.
He would like take the masters of Disney's movies and
I don't know how I forgot it because this is the porn part.
Yeah. So he would basically Disney movies. After selling the Disney films for quite a while and quite successfully, he found a different set of movies that made him even more money.
Wait, what kind?
Kuklinski also discovered this lucrative market for tapes of pornographic movies.
He had to step it up from the Disney movies.
Brown.
Yeah. So he would copy and distribute pornography as a regular source of income. So basically, he was selling the Disney movies to like people who just wanted to have them at home. But you would pay a bunch of money to like have a Disney movie at home, or he would sell it to movie theaters who didn't want to pay like Disney's price and give Disney their cut. You pay a one-time thing to Richard. You've got the exact same. It's not like a bootleg where like you could hear people coughing in the theater or something. It's a straight up master copy of a Disney film. So he made a lot of money doing that, but he made a lot more money selling movies of a pornographic nature. Question number 4. Prior to Richard's arrests for murder, he was only arrested one time. What crime was it for? Was it A, writing bad checks, B, insurance fraud, C, burglary, or D, assault? Dustin, you can tie it up right here if you get this one right. Writing bad checks, insurance fraud, burglary, or assault. One arrest before he went in for moida.
I can't remember this one.
I know, me neither.
They both said A.
Oh.
Writing bad checks. Well, let's get you both some points because, yes, he was arrested for passing a bad check. This is the only crime that he was ever arrested for prior to his murder. Although he would not be charged, he was photographed, fingerprinted, and checked into the jail. But all charges were dropped after he agreed to pay back the money that he owed from the bounced check plus a fee. So,
How much was the
250
check
points
for?
for. I don't even know. That's a great question. Probably not that
Like
much.
93 cents.
It's
Which
like the dude.
back then was enough to buy one of the Lincolns from his dealership.
So that's 750 points, Ashley. 500 points, Dustin. Only 3 questions of 12 in here. Let's keep it going. So he was arrested
4.
for writing a bad check. What's that? 4 questions in. Yes, sir. Yes, you're correct. Several of his known murder victims were men he met through trafficking, pornography, and eventually drugs. He also headed a burglary group with associates Gary Smith, Barbara Deppner, Daniel Deppner, and Percy House. I think they're brother and sister.
Fake names, all of them.
Percy House especially.
That's my porn name.
Hey, hello, Percy House here, opposite of Dirk Diggler. We'll talk about some of the killing that Kuklinski claims. Jesus Christ. We'll talk about some of the killing that Kuklinski claims to have done. I need to start reading this out loud before I fucking finish writing it. And some of the methods he used, but we're going to focus on the crimes that we know are true and have a little bit of narrative that doesn't come directly from Richard's mouth. A little later. Richard claims to have killed a lot of people, and don't throw the number out there because just in case, you never know. But we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit more about some we know a little bit of information. Something was maybe perhaps corroborated by someone other than Richard himself, like the getting that the nickname Iceman comes from a couple people from his neighborhood. You know, he had it at a fairly young age. Let's see here. So. He's got a bunch of fake name people in his burglary crew, and we're going to talk about some deaths that probably actually happened and were by Richard Kuklinski's hand. On January 30th, 1980, Kuklinski killed 42-year-old George William Malaban Jr. during a meeting to sell him some of these master tapes. Now, Malaban was one of the heavy hitters, basically, for Richard and his tape buying. It was like he was the dude who was buying fat stacks of tapes, several at a time. I don't know exactly if he was someone who was a private collector or was putting them in theaters, but the amount of money that he was carrying on him at the time leads me to believe that he was one that was like buying it for business and, you know, making it that way, because Kuklinski was doing basically big deals, but not like huge. And this was like the first huge deal. And he realized that Malaban was going to be carrying $27,000 with him at the time. And so I think in Richard's head, he was like, well, let's see. That's the cost of 4 deals. I could just kill him. I get 4 deals. I only got to do 1. So
Yeah, but you never get to make that deal again.
Hey, shut up. I don't think about the future that far. So, Malaban was reportedly carrying $27,000 at this time, and his body was discovered a week later on February 5th, 1980. Richard had placed it into a 55-gallon drum and just left it near a chemical plant in Jersey City.
This will
Like,
liquefy.
I don't know. Yeah, I just put this here. So it said that he cut the tendons of Malaban's legs in order to fit the corpse into the barrel. This is the first murder that is like officially linked to Kuklinski, and I use that like, oh, he talks about cutting because he's like, yeah, you know, you got to go back behind the knees and cut the tendons if you want the legs to be like. So some of this stuff does come from his mouth, but we can also sort of use evidence to show that this was probably almost definitely Richard Kuklinski who killed this person. So you'll see later too why I say like he's got to be a complete fucking bullshit liar, because some of the murders he says he's responsible for or involved with, you're like, So this was the first murder linked to Kuklinski officially. Malaban's brother told police officers that Malaban was meeting Kuklinski the day that he disappeared. Kuklinski admitted to shooting Malaban 5 times, saying it was due to business. On April 29th, 1982, Richard met Paul Hoffman, a 51-year-old pharmacist who occasionally browsed the store in Paterson, New Jersey, which was a storefront with a back room holding a wide variety of stolen items for sale. So, you know, it's like a real live black market. Hoffman hoped to make a big profit by purchasing stolen Tagamet, which was a popular drug to treat peptic ulcers and to resell through his pharmacy. So this isn't like a recreational drug
It's not a party drug.
that
It's like a
right. This is like he just
Allergy.
treated a lot of ulcers and knew he could get it cheaper illegally and get a fat markup at his pharmacy. So in some of the ways we think about organized crime, we're like, oh yeah, it's a drug that fucks you up. You think, nah, it actually treats peptic ulcers, and I treat a lot of Italian men. So if you believe it or not, it's a
And
very
they always say, "You're killing me."
It's all the alcohol they drink.
Red wine.
and all the gabagool. So
Red wine and salted meats is not good.
he stated that he lured Hoffman into a rented garage and tried to shoot him, but the gun jammed. Richard still got the upper hand due to his size and speed. Instead, he beat Hoffman to death with a tire iron.
God, imagine being charged by like a bear and then you go to shoot it and your gun jams. I feel like that'd be a similar feeling.
Yeah.
Where you just be
Except
like,
for
oh,
that, well,
this fucking man is coming to kill me, so you go to shoot him and it's all click.
yeah, but it wasn't that way. It was Kuklinski's gun who jammed.
Oh.
Richard's gun jammed because he just wanted to shoot him and like get the money.
Kill him.
And he was like, fuck. So he
guess I
picks up a
gotta
tire
kill him
iron
now.
and then a bear picks up a tire iron and runs at you, and this entire time you've been defenseless.
I thought you were
That's
just selling ulcer pills.
yeah,
Just
exactly.
throwing ulcer pills at you.
Come
Come on, you son of a bitch.
So he said that he then stuffed the body into a 55-gallon drum and left it outside of a motel in Little Ferry.
Where is
One
he
day,
finding these empty drums?
One day, Richard noticed that the drum had just disappeared, but he had never learned what happened to it. By the early 1980s, Kuklinski's burglary gang was under investigation by law enforcement. So, like, he's right. Where'd the bucket go?
I picture some guy coming to. He's like, fuck, I forgot I left my 55-gallon drum outside the motel. Comes back to get it and he goes to drag it and he's like, man, this thing must be full of fucking rainwater. I can hear it sloshing around, but like.
Or maybe the kitchen.
I'm still gonna take it.
The kitchen grease for the French fries.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh my god.
Just
just
kicks
made
it
all
up on
kinds
its
of-
edge and starts rolling it.
One day, Richard noticed that the drum just disappeared. So yeah, what a strange thing. The body was never recovered either. So whoever got that drum never opened it, or they opened it and they were like, not my business. Click.
Just gonna roll this into the bay.
Yep.
In December of 1982, Percy House, a member of the gang, was arrested, and House agreed to inform on Kuklinski and was placed in protective custody. Warrants were also issued. Warrants were also issued for the arrest of two other gang members, 37-year-old Gary Smith and Daniel Deppner. Richard urged them to lay low and rented them a room at the York Motel in North Bergen, New Jersey. Smith left the motel to visit with his daughter, and Kuklinski feared that Smith, after he discussed going straight, might be an informant. According to the testimony of Barbara Deppner, Kuklinski, Daniel Deppner, and House, who was in jail at the time, decided that Smith had to be killed. Kuklinski fed Smith a hamburger laced with cyanide, and when this was too slow to work, Daniel Deppner also strangled Smith with a lamp cord.
Jesus.
It's like, it's fucking cyanide's not working fast enough. Get the lamp. Come on.
I just imagine giant Richard Kuklinski just be like, here, eat this hamburger. I made it just for you.
Eat it. Don't ask any questions.
Eat it fast, though. Don't let it linger. It wears off. Eat it fast. And you're just like halfway through, you're like, well, this isn't, but and he starts choking you with like a fucking
With a
piano
cord.
wire or whatever.
God damn it, House, you got to give him a minute to die. According to forensic pathologist Michael Baden, Smith's death would probably have been attributed to something non-homicidal in nature, such as a drug overdose, if Kuklinski had relied solely on the poison. However, the ligature mark around Smith's neck and the fact that the body had been deliberately hidden proved to investigators that he was murdered. Question number 5. At this point, Barbara Deppner left and was to return with a car to move the body, but never did. What do Kuklinski and Daniel Deppner do with the body? Did they A, throw it in a hotel dumpster? B, drive it out to an abandoned part of town and toss it out of the car? C, cut it up and threw it all over town? Or D, put it under the mattress in the hotel room?
Or E, tied on bibs like a cartoon.
Started eating.
Just started eating.
So do they throw it in the hotel dumpster, drive it out to an abandoned part of town and dump it, cut it up and throw it all over town, put it under a mattress in the hotel, or eat it?
They both said
Dang
D.
it, we knew that part. I'm not gonna lie, we knew that because I made a comment when we
Well,
heard about it.
What a funny thing that I mean, it's so random. Like I just said,
is
the
crazy.
last documentary came out 20 years ago.
I
It's not like some guy who's like fresh in the news or something.
And when we
So when
heard
you guys
that,
like, oh, we just watched that, it's like, no fucking way.
yeah, and when we heard it, we made comments about it because it was the hotel room was used multiple times before they found it, and I was like, can you
It's
imagine just like railing it on the bed and
After Barbara Deppner did not return the car with the car to store or move Smith's body, Kuklinski and Daniel Deppner placed it in between the mattress and box spring. Over the next 4 days, a number of patrons rented the room, and although some of them thought that the smell in the room was odd, most of them did not think to look under the bed.
Sorry.
Finally, on December 27th, 1982, after some more complaints from guests about the smell, the hotel manager investigated and discovered the decomposing corpse. It's like a fucking urban legend.
A body's not small, bro. Like, how do you lay in the bed and just kind of roll to one side? And you're like, what the fuck? Oh, this mattress is lumpy, bro.
yeah.
Like,
Also, it smells like a
smells
decomposing
in here.
corpse.
like check it out. If I push right here, it feels like arms, but over here, it feels more like a head and a torso. How weird.
But you know what? I also feel like there's a certain like experience. Like if you've never smelled something decomposing, like I remember my dad and we were out deer hunting one time when we stumbled upon a dead deer and it had been there, dude. That shit was bloated and exploded. And I remember being like,
That's a good band name.
I was just gonna say that's
Right.
a killer tagline for something.
I remember like that smell didn't leave my nose for like days, like
Yeah.
the decay, like
It's almost
And-
sweet.
that was what I was just gonna say. Is like it's a sweet smell that like it lends itself to something like that. Like if you've never smelled that before, and didn't know what it was, you might be like, well, "This fucking hotel blows. This smell is in the wall, baby." But I do agree with you, Greg. Yeah, how do you get over the lump? Sometimes when there's a sheet kind of piled up under me, I'm like, "Oh, what the fuck? Flatten it out, dude." So having a human body.
Princess in the Pea. But
Yeah.
that's the difference in generations. The older
I'm
generation.
sensitive.
Yeah, I'm like, oh man, if there's a body under my mattress, I can't sleep. And the older generation is like, in my day, we slept on top of the bodies. You'd be lucky to have a mattress.
We put it between us because it's a good thing to cuddle.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what a weird fucking thing. Like I said, it's straight up like an urban legend.
Just like somebody was like, you know what? Fuck it. I've been sleeping in the chair. That mattress sucks. Like, I just don't, I can't get over how, unless,
Listen, I didn't want to cause a problem and complain.
yeah, unless they like took the mattress off and you know how the box springs have, the box or like the wood that
Like
slats
put it
that go across.
inside it.
Yeah, if you like break out some of those in the middle and stuff the body down in there, like, okay, I could see that.
yeah.
But even still,
No, Greg, I believe the exact quote is,
we mushed in between the bed and the other bed.
yeah, he was placed in between the mattress and the box spring.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand how somebody could like not walk in and be like, how did housekeeping not come in and go, hey, wait a second.
Yeah.
Was there really
I mean,
housekeeping back then, and did they maybe just use the
I think
rooms
this was
for-
also like a pretty shady motel.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe they only used the rooms for illegal activity.
It's only rented an hour at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why there was 4 people going through there.
Bloating and exploding.
Okay. So, yeah, bloated and exploded, baby.
It's basically what women do every month.
After Smith's murder, Kuklinski moved 34-year-old Daniel Deppner to an apartment in Birchfield, New Jersey, belonging to Rich Patterson, then fiance of Kuklinski's daughter, Merrick. Patterson was away at the time, but Kuklinski possessed keys to the apartment. So this is like, Merrick's old enough, she's got a fiance. Kuklinski's hiding his business associate in his future son-in-law's apartment because he's got a key. Like, this is just, it's getting messy, it feels like. Between February and May of 83, Deppner was killed by Kuklinski. He's like,
It's like a
ah,
3-month
fuck,
window."
man.
Yeah.
I got nowhere else to put him.
This is
Investigators
inconvenient.
investigators said that he was likely murdered in Richard's future son-in-law's apartment after discovering a bloody carpet. Richard later enlisted Patterson's help to dispose of Deppner's body, telling Patterson the victim was a friend in trouble with law enforcement and someone had broken into and killed him over the weekend. So this is his future son-in-law, and he's like, come on, help me fucking hide this body. Trust me, you don't want to get the cops involved in this one. We just got to get this out of here, huh? He added to his future son-in-law that it was best to dump the body to avoid trouble with the police, then forget about the incident.
I like that. Like, we should call the cops. Oh no, if we call the cops, they're gonna show up and start investigating me. I mean you.
Yeah, there's gonna be like a whole thing. You know, I'm trying to get some sleep tonight. Kuklinski made another mistake when he informed an associate that he had killed Deppner. Deppner's corpse was discovered May 14th, 1983, after a bicyclist riding Clinton Road in a wooded area of West Milford, New Jersey, spotted the corpse surrounded by vultures.
Fucking cyclists ruin everything.
Kuklinski wrapped the corpse inside green garbage bags before dumping it. Medical examiners listed Deppner's cause of death as undetermined, although they noted pinkish spots under his skin, a possible sign of cyanide poisoning. Deppner was also strangled, and investigators guessed that Deppner had already been incapacitated, such as by poison, because the partially eaten corpse had no defensive wounds, and healthy adult men are rarely killed by strangulation.
I was
And
just
you know
kidding
what?
when I said eat it earlier. I didn't think he was actually gonna try.
After I read that line, I looked that up because, like, oh yeah, you know, that like makes sense. Like, a healthy adult male being just strangled is like yeah, you know, he's you get in a fight and you like slam someone against the wall or what, you know what? And
Yeah,
I looked it up and
I
it's
think
like
so.
there's a very, very, very small cause of death in adult males. It's like John Wayne Gacy's already bumping the stats up. Like, so I just thought that was interesting that they pointed out. Like, his body had no defensive wounds, and very rarely are healthy, full-grown men killed by strangulation, and at least don't show signs of defense.
Maybe it has
So
something to do with
that's-
your Adam's apple.
Well, no, I mean like
Like
Well-
your defense mechanism.
Well, Gacy also did like the garrots, like he did the twisting, like a piece of wood through a rope, and he would just twist it.
I like the idea of the self-defense Adam's apple though. Like when you start to get strangled, it just swells like a bullfrog.
I mean, 'cause women
Um,
get strangled all the time.
Yeah. So
We did.
Kuklinski made another mistake. Yeah. Deppner's corpse was found. Yep. Kuklinski wrapped the corpse. Yep. Already read that too. Deppner was also strangled. Investigators. Yep. Also read that. The medical examiner found Deppner's stomach full of undigested food, indicating that he had died shortly after or during a meal. Question number 6. What undigested food did they find in his stomach? Was it A, beans, B, beef, C, corn, or D, cabbage? Beans, beef, corn, or cabbage?
Can it be corned beef cabbage?
Oh,
Dustin says A. Ashley says B.
I don't know this one.
we're going to give Dustin a tie game with 250 because the beans that Deppner had eaten and were found inside his stomach were also burned.
On the grill.
They were burned. So officers also reasoned that the meal was likely home cooked because most restaurants would not get away with serving burned food to customers.
Hey,
wonder-
my beans are burned. Deal with it.
I wonder if you can get poisoned like I wonder if they process faster in your stuff. Like the poison can come out of beans faster. Like maybe it takes longer with beef. I don't know. I'm thinking beef might take longer
I think they just put the cyanide in the
like liquid part of the beans.
yeah,
In the juice.
mixed it in.
Yeah, yeah.
The bean water.
Bean water, yeah.
Yummy.
So, investigating officers discovered the corpse just 3 miles away from the ranch where Kuklinski's family often went horseback riding. Remember, Kuklinski's he's a pretty rich guy. Like he's sort of known for that. He's like, "Yeah, I took my family riding out here.
Complete coincidence that one of my good friends was found dead near here. Deppner was the third Kuklinski associate to be found dead. So basically, like all the people who are close to him and work with him and are near him and around him are dying. So that's good. On September 25th, 1983, the body of 50-year-old Louis Leonard Masgay was found discovered near a town park near Clausland Mountain Road in Orangetown, New York, with a bullet hole in the back of his head. Masgay disappeared over 2 years earlier on July 1st, 1981, and on this day he was to meet Kuklinski. They were supposed to meet at a New Jersey diner, and he was going to purchase a large quantity of blank video set tapes. If anybody remembers these VHS tapes, like man, imagine like you got killed in a bootleg deal for blank VHS tapes.
I mean,
Hey, they weren't cheap.
This guy's life is legit The Sopranos, because how many of Tony Soprano? Did you guys watch? You guys watch The Sopranos?
Yeah.
How many of
I
Tony
didn't really watch it.
He had
watch too much of
associates dying.
Yeah.
He would come home with bootleg stuff. He would like they would always come home and be like, "Here, I brought gifts for the family. It's a purse and it's got some letters on it. I don't know, it could be Coach, it could be this Louis Vuitton." Like just handing garbage out to people. But like
they said that like one of these families was like the inspiration for the family.
But like so
makes
far,
sense.
like this bit of the story here is like the
the main
series
guy.
of The Sopranos. Like it's wild.
There you go. Have fun. So let's see. Blank video set recorder tapes for which Masgay had $95,000 in his van. So I think this is another one of those. Yeah, he's gonna have a bunch for me right here. I could keep the tapes and the money if I just
Nah,
kill him.
it was the 80s. That was only for 3 tapes.
Yeah.
I was going to say, those things were not cheap.
His body was stored in a freezer, then discovered 15 months later. However, Kuklinski did not thaw the corpse before he dumped it. He also wrapped it in a plastic garbage bag. Really quickly, it may not have been a freezer. It may have been a well that was frozen, and he cemented over the top. So this is another one of those things too, where like some people believe he got Iceman from this, and there's just a lot of places Iceman is supposedly have come from. So basically, you got my biased answer. But he didn't thaw out the body completely, and when he dumped the body, he wrapped it in plastic garbage bags, which helped to keep the body insulated and partially frozen. The Rockland County medical examiner found ice crystals inside the body on a warm September day. If the body had thawed before discovery, the medical examiner stated that they probably would have never noticed Kuklinski's trickery. Investigators realized that Masgay was wearing the clothes his wife and son said he was wearing on the day he disappeared. So basically, he was discovered 2 years later and looked exactly the same as he did the day that he went missing.
And was still frozen.
And yeah, exactly. Had some ice crystals in the blood.
How spooky though. Like
Yeah.
that's wild.
Like he time
Right.
traveled to Ice Age and came back.
Yeah.
Encino Man.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
gazungas.
Good movie.
So Kuklinski is kind of like at this point, you know, like we're zooming through his life. Like honestly, if you guys want to hear more about him, listen to that 3-part last podcast series. It's so good, it's so in depth. But like at this point, it's like Richard's like getting a little sloppy. He's getting a little tired. He's just like his fuse is even shorter than before, which like doesn't even seem possible, especially when you know a lot of the things about him. Which we're gonna kind of go back and we'll talk about some of that stuff after we kind of get through his life and times here. But yeah, not a good dude. Eventually, he comes to the attention of Pat Kane, an officer with the New Jersey State Police, with an informant who helped Kane connect him to a gang carrying out burglaries in northern New Jersey. That's, you know, it's with House and Deppner, and, the fake name crew, I think their name was. Eventually, 5 unsolved homicides, Hoffman, Smith, Debner, Masgay, and Malaban, were linked to Kuklinski because he was the last person to see each of them alive. So basically, that was the beginning of the connections, and they moved on to find a lot more.
He's like good luck Chuck, but for death instead of getting married.
Yes, yeah, exactly. A joint task force of law enforcement officials with a title was created between the New Jersey Attorney General's Office and Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco and Firearms, dedicated to arresting and convicting Kuklinski. Question number 7: what did they title this task force? Was it Operation Iceman, the Iceman Task Force, Kuklinski Detainment Team, or the Contract Killer Task Force?
Think about what would look best
Operation
on the back of a jacket.
Iceman, Operation Iceman, the Iceman Task Force, Kuklinski Detainment Teams, KDT, Contract Killer Task Force. Yeah, but I'm here for the CKTF.
Dustin says B. Ashley says D.
Dustin says the Iceman Task Force. Ashley says Contract Killer Task Force. It was Operation Iceman.
Oh.
No points.
No points for anybody. And what a fucking stupid name. Like, why did these task force have names? So, the ATF was involved due to Kuklinski's firearm sales. ATF Special Agent Dominic Polifrone who has a cool name anyway. Yeah, exactly. He's going to go undercover for 18 months to try to apprehend Kuklinski. Starting in 1985, Kane and Polifrone worked together with Phil Solomene, a close longtime friend of Kuklinski, to get Polifrone close to Kuklinski, posing as mafia-connected criminal named Dominic Provenzano.
That's not as good.
New York.
Polifrone purchased a handgun muffler combination from Kuklinski. In recordings from a wire, Kuklinski discussed a corpse he kept in a freezer for 2.5 years. He told Polifrone he preferred poison, saying, "Why be messy? You do it nice and calm." He asked Polifrone if he could supply him with pure cyanide. Polifrone told Kuklinski he wanted to hire him to murder a wealthy Jewish cocaine dealer, and recorded Kuklinski speaking in detail about how he would do it. Kuklinski was also recorded boasting that he had killed a man by putting cyanide on his hamburger, and of his plans to kill a couple of rats, who were likely referring to Barbara Deppner and Percy House, the only two remaining survivors from his burglary gang.
I like to think that he actually was just trying to kill rats and it was taken wildly out of context.
Well, there's some story about rats later, too. We'll talk. On December 17th, 1986, Kuklinski met Polifrone to get cyanide for a planned murder, which was to be an attempt on an undercover police officer. After the recorded conversation with Polifrone, Kuklinski went for a walk, and he started to just get a gut feeling that something wasn't right. So he took that cyanide and he used it on a stray dog. And he used a hamburger, gave it to a stray dog, and the stray dog did not die. And he was like, "Well, this ain't fucking cyanide then, huh?" And suspicious, Kuklinski decided not to go through with the planned murder, and he went home instead. He was arrested at a roadblock 2 hours later, and Kuklinski's wife was charged for interfering with her husband's arrest. Officers discovered a firearm in the vehicle, and she was charged with possession of a firearm because she was a passenger. Prosecutors charged Kuklinski with 5 murder counts and 6 weapons violations, as well as attempted murder, robbery, and attempted robbery. Law enforcement officials said Kuklinski had large sums of money in Swiss bank accounts and a reservation on a flight to that country. For those reasons, Kuklinski was held on a $2 million bail and made to surrender his passport. After the arrest, Kuklinski told reporters, quote, "This is unwarranted, unnecessary. These guys watch too many movies." This is such a funny part. I'm kind of with Ashley at times. I'm like, this guy's a pretty smooth operator, because he gets out and he's a pretty big dude. He's 6'4", 250. That's not a small man. And there's literally 10 dudes walking around him, and he's saying this. He's like, "These guys watch too many movies." He's like, "It's one guy, me, and they bring 33 guys with guns drawn to arrest me. It seems like a little overkill, doesn't it?" He's he never raises his voice. He never
Dissociated. He's super
yes,
dissociated.
just it's crazy. He thinks his life was a movie. He's the one who watches too many movies, honestly. At a press conference, New Jersey State Attorney General W. Carey Edwards characterized the motive for the murders as profit and said he set individuals up for business deals, they disappeared, and the money ended up in his hands. At trial, Kuklinski's former associates, including Percy House and Barbara Deppner, gave evidence against him, as did ATF Special Agent Polifrone. The case was prosecuted by Deputy Attorney General Robert Carroll, while Kuklinski was represented by a public defender. Because at this point, this is when he's filing for bankruptcy and has $300.
That doesn't sound like bankruptcy. That sounds like you've got $300.
Well, when you have like $170,000 in debt and you have $300,
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, get a second job, start a side
quit
hustle.
eating avocado toast.
Join LonelyFans with 2Zs.com as a creator. And before you know it, you're fucking rolling in it.
Avocado toast is pretty cheap.
So, yeah, if avocados are in season,
That's true.
Kuklinski's lawyer argued that Kuklinski had no history of violence and only projected a, quote, tough guy image, including his statements to ATF Special Agent Paul Front. So he's basically saying, like, yeah, you fucking was talking about killing guys, and he doesn't actually do it. He's just a big softy, you know?
He said, Your Honor, I know he looks scary, but my client's a pussy.
He's just a big teddy
Please
bear.
don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Please
did
don't
you
kill me.
say?
Please don't kill me.
You gotta trust me on this, Dick. I've got it.
Oh, Dick Kuklik. So the defense theorized that Deppner was responsible for the murder of Smith because he did the strangulation, and there was no cause of death determined for Deppner. Additionally, he argued that testimony of House and Barbara Deppner was unreliable because they lied to law enforcement officials, and House received immunity from prosecution. So we're like, yeah, how could these guys be telling the right? Like, they're either she's a liar, he's being given something. Like, but of course they would say that. So, in March of 1988, jurors found Kuklinski guilty of murdering Smith and Deppner, but found the deaths were not proven to be by Kuklinski's conduct, meaning that he would not face the death penalty. He was then sentenced to a minimum of 60 years in prison, and after the trial, Kuklinski pled guilty to killing Mazgay and Malaband. Kuklinski was sentenced to an additional 2 life sentences to be served consecutively. State prosecutors explained he would spend the rest of his life in prison if he had successful appeals to his previous conviction. So even if he got out of those ones, because he admitted to these ones, he's serving them consecutively. So he's got to, yeah. State prosecutors explained that he would spend the rest of his life in prison. Kuklinski also confessed to killing Hoffman, but prosecutors decided not to go for that at trial as they had a weak case and an additional life sentence would not have impacted Kuklinski's prison stay. As part of the plea bargains, the firearm charge against his wife and an unrelated marijuana possession charge against his son were dismissed. Did not know you could do that.
Yeah, you like made a deal about different, like my family's
with his
cool.
wife and his son. Hey,
Yeah,
listen, I know my
family's
kid got
good.
caught smoking the weed the one time. You get rid of that. And my wife, that gun charge, you fuck off with that, and I'll tell you
I'll
all
be
about
guilty.
what you need to know. They're like, yeah, you got that, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty reasonable, but like I said last week, I've been watching a lot of Suits, and what that has taught me is that lawyers make backdoor deals all the time. And unless it's in writing and signed, it's not worth a fucking hill of burned beans in a dead guy's stomach. Like, it means jack shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and you gotta remember all the lawyers and the judge all know each other. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, just drop these and he'll plead guilty.
Yeah.
Hey, we went to school together.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question number 8. Richard will eventually be up for parole. How old will he be when that happens? This is just closest to the answer gets 250, which is great because we're at a tie here. And if you nail it, you get 1,000. How old will he be when he would be eligible for parole?
Answer the same so the tie continues. I think she understood the question.
No, say it. Say what you you don't get to.
Well,
How old
I
will
want- I
Richard
wanna
Kuklinski be?
I wanna
yeah.
He put 2,300 and
I'm gonna make some fucking beans for dinner.
Ashley said 104. Dustin said 2,053.
No, I said 125.
He said 125.
no, he said 2,053.
I'm never coming back.
I mean, either way, I think 104 might be closer. You tell me, Jesse. Who's getting points here?
Ashley's going to get the points because it was 111 years old.
Yeah, even
111.
You were close though with the second one.
Yeah. Second guess, good one, Dustin. It's like, how old will he be when he's up for parole? As old as Merlin. So
I was gonna say you were thinking like what year, huh?
Yeah.
No, I totally I
Oh.
see what you were trying to do, but the way
what year did you say? What year did you say?
2053.
2046 was
Wow.
the year.
Oh,
that he would
so
have been
you
up
were
for
right
parole.
You would have been.
Would have been pretty close there, buddy.
Yeah, not bad at all.
But even if we go with your second one, we're giving Ashley the lead back with that one because, yes, he would have been 111 years old when he was up for parole at his stay in Trenton State Prison. During his incarceration, Kuklinski granted interviews to prosecutors, psychiatrists, criminologists, and writers. Basically, anybody that would come in and talk to him, he'd say, yeah, I guess I'll see him, but don't make me angry.
You won't like me when
several
I'm
television.
angry.
Yes. Several television producers also spoke to Kuklinski about his criminal career, upbringing, and personal life. These talks culminated in 3 televised documentaries known as the Iceman tapes, broadcast on HBO in 1992, 2001, and 2003. According to his daughter, Merritt Kuklinski, her mother convinced Richard to do interviews in which she was paid handsomely for them. She's like, yeah, I'm still making money off that motherfucker to this day.
I mean, gotta be good for something, right?
Yep. In the last installment, The Iceman and the Psychiatrist, Kuklinski was... Dude, she's also going to get, like... Actually, we'll get there. In the last installment, The Iceman and the Psychiatrist, Kuklinski was interviewed by renowned forensic psychiatrist Dr. Park Dietz in 2002. Dietz said that he believed Kuklinski suffered from antisocial personality disorder plus paranoid personality disorder. Writers Anthony Bruno and Philip Carlo wrote biographies of Kuklinski. Kuklinski's wife, Barbara, received a share of the profits from Bruno's book. Question number 9. In what year did Richard Kuklinski die? Or, in what year did Richard Kuklinski die? You don't have to guess yet. It's multiple choice.
Can I stab?
2053.
You can stab. You can stab if you'd like, Dustin. This would be huge.
Yeah, are you going to stab?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, you've got an answer written down? Okay.
I got you.
Ashley, you want to hear them?
Do you want the multiple choice or do you want to stab too?
I'm trying to see it. I'm trying to look in my mind and see if I remember what it said at the end of the tapes. But okay, I'll try a stab.
Ooh, 2 stabs.
All right.
That
I
door
like
behind you
it.
just opened. That freaked me out.
Yeah, it's Mo again.
Okay, so run down the answers. Run down the multiple choice for those playing the home version.
2006, 2009, 2015, 2017, or still alive.
Okay. And Dustin said 2006. Ashley said 2001.
Oh. So definitely not Ashley because it wasn't one of the options.
Right.
And we're going to give Dustin
Dang it.
1,000 points because in October of 2005, after nearly 18 years in prison, Kuklinski was diagnosed with Kawasaki disease. He was transferred to a secure wing at the St. Francis Medical Center in Trenton, New Jersey, although he had asked doctors to make sure that they revived him if he developed cardiopulmonary arrest. His then former wife, Barbara, had signed a do not resuscitate order. The week before his death,
your
the hospital
backstab.
called Barbara to ask if she wished to rescind the instruction due to Richard's requests, and she declined. Kuklinski died at the age of 70 on March 5th, 2006. Dustin.
Here's your backstab.
So, a quick update on the scores. It's
Wait, 2000 to 1250?
2000 to 1250. There's 3 questions left. If you hit all 3 questions, you can lock it up and go to an artistic challenge.
Yeah.
If you miss any,
That'd be my first win.
yeah, you could get there. You can definitely make it happen. You just gotta get them all right, and he's got to get them all wrong. There's serious looks going on. So
I believe in you guys.
yeah, I want to see it happen.
So, yes, he got Kawasaki disease, which apparently is a disease that generally only affects
Motocross
very
riders.
young.
I was trying to think of
Sorry.
something. I'm glad you said that. That's funnier than what I had.
If I'm not mistaken, it was very young Japanese children. But a lot of the symptoms also have similar side effects to cyanide poisoning. Or mercury poisoning. I believe it might have been actually. Anyway, yeah,
That's
Barbara got
interesting.
her payback. At the request of Kuklinski's family, noted forensic pathologist Michael Baden reviewed his autopsy report. Baden confirmed that Kuklinski died of cardiac arrest and had been suffering with heart disease and phlebitis. Question number 10. How many people does Richard claim to have killed in total? This one is closest to the answer. Gets 1,000 points.
Oh. Wait.
Sorry. Nail it, you get 1,000 points. Closest, you get 250. Sorry.
Okay. I was gonna say that's a huge swing here.
Yeah, I was trying to add things up while I was looking at it and misspoke. I apologize. So, 1,000 points if you can nail it. 250 points to the closest.
Okay. So, Dustin says 2,053, and Ashley says about 100.
About 100.
Give Ashley 250 points.
Woo! I think
Because in
that's...
various interviews, Kuklinski claimed to have murdered around 200 people.
Oh. Hey, you can't just give it to me. I want a fair fight.
I didn't just give. What,
No,
you
no,
said 100,
sorry.
right?
I was looking
Because
at,
he
I
said
was looking at Dustin.
2053.
Sorry, I was looking at Dustin.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be that rude to you. Just my husband.
Okay, 1,500 to 2,000.
Yeah,
Still anybody's game.
You're there.
So in various interviews, Kuklinski claimed to have murdered around 200 people. He alleged to use multiple ways of killing people, including crossbow, ice picks, a bomb attached to a remote control toy, firearms, grenades, as well as cyanide solution spray that he considered to be his favorite. Basically, he said he, at some point was using some spray that used a chemical that basically helped things absorb into your skin, and cyanide and water. And he would come up and I do, fake sneeze on a guy in a club, and the guy would die later.
Wow.
Or he would he said that he
Go
would
ahead.
spill drinks on people.
Yeah.
So it would
Because it would just absorb into their skin. Yeah.
Fuck.
He's like, Jimi Hendrix used to put the acid under his headband. I kind of got inspired by that.
Yeah.
That seems like a waste of acid.
How expensive is cyanide?
Apparently cheap enough that some goon can get it off the street.
Yeah. Also, it's not illegal to buy. It's rat poison.
And you can make it from, what is it, apple seeds?
I'm
Or
just
no, that's
asking,
arsenic. That's arsenic.
I'm just asking for a friend.
Cyanide.
Yeah.
Is cyanide the one that smells like almonds?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think you just go Google it on a library computer,
Where to
Yeah.
buy?
Yeah.
How many S's in cyanide?
Yeah. Oh my God. So he said that Richard's going to say that he committed his first murder at 14 and murdered homeless people for practice. In 2006, Paul Smith, a member of the task force involved in arresting Kuklinski and later a supervisor of the organized crime division of the New Jersey Attorney General's office, said, quote, "I checked every one of those murders Kuklinski said he committed, and not one was true." So we're going to have kind of a little fact check on Kuklinski from a lot of people around his case. Give me just 1 second here. Sorry.
I like that he said not one of them was true, but they didn't let him out of prison, so some of them had to have empirically been true.
Well, none of the ones that he told the story of after court. All of these I killed this guy.
I like
I was the tree. He was the.
Yeah.
They were probably like, "So did you check those out?" And he was like, "Nah, fuck that guy. He's probably a liar."
Yeah, he had some pretty wild ones on the tape that I don't know if you're gonna get to some crazy ones, but there were.
Yeah, a couple.
Yeah, I'll wait and see if you say the one I'm thinking of.
For sure, write it down so you don't forget. And then
I'll never be able to forget
Might be
it.
for points.
Oh, okay.
I'll never.
Is it the one with rats?
Rats and limbs, I think he said.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, in 2006, Paul Smith, we already read that. He added authorities throughout the country could not corroborate one case based on the tidbits Kuklinski gave. In 2020, Dominic Polifrone said, "I don't believe he killed 200 people. I don't believe he killed 100 people. I'll go as high as 15, maybe." Kuklinski also alleged that he is a mafia contract killer independently working for all of the 5 families in New York City, as well as the DeCavalcante family of New Jersey. Now, this is controversial in 2 ways. Is that generally somebody who was going to be doing contract work for any of those families had to be a made man. And the only way to be a made man was to be Italian.
Yeah.
And Richard Kuklinski, a very Polish gentleman.
There were exceptions.
Right. And I don't believe I remember what all of them were, but I don't think that Richard Kuklinski really fit the mold for it when you look at it.
I know Sam Giancana had a guy named Murray the Camel Humphreys, and he was Welsh. But he wasn't Italian, but he was a made man, but he went they liked him because he looked really smooth. He was suave and debonair. So they sent him out to Hollywood to like sweet talk all the studios into using union workers.
Interesting. Debonair, indeed. So he claimed that he carried out dozens of murders on behalf of the Gambino soldier Roy DeMeo, which he said was one of the murders that the Bonanno family, boss of Carmine Galante in July of 1979, and Gambino boss of Paul Castellano in December of 1985. For the Castellano murder, Kuklinski said that he personally recruited by John Gotti, an ally of Sammy Gravano, who instructed him to kill Castellano's driver and bodyguard, Thomas Bellotti. Dude, can you imagine doing an episode where you just read off these names?
Yes.
Sounds like you're making a sandwich. Bologna, mayo.
I was gonna say, did you know DeMeo is actually Italian for the mayonnaise?
Yeah.
Lovely. So he told Philip Carlo he was hired by John Gotti to kidnap, torture, and murder John Favara, the man who accidentally
The
killed
guy
Gotti's
who wrote
12-year-old
Swingers?
The guy, no, close up. The man who accidentally killed Gotti's 12-year-old son Frank after hitting him with his car. However, Kuklinski's alleged involvement in mafia hits has been disputed by other authorities, according to Jerry Capecci. He claims the Iceman killed Paul Castellano, Carmine Galante, and Jimmy Hoffa, along with Roy DeMeo.
Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah, so he
Damn.
said that he was part of, and about 200 others. Like, do you believe that? Like, no one believes that, right? After he became a government witness in 1990, Sammy Gravano admitted to planning the murder of Castellano and Bellotti, but said that the shooters were all members of John Gotti's crew and were chosen by Gotti, and he never once mentioned Kuklinski. Anthony Bruno felt Kuklinski's participation in the killing of Castellano was, quote, highly unlikely. Bruno noted that in 1986, Anthony Indelicato was convicted of Galante's murder, and Kuklinski was not mentioned a single time during the trial. Kuklinski biographer Philip Carlo also acknowledged that Kuklinski's claim to have been involved in Galante's murder was likely untrue. Former Colombo family Capo Michael
Capo.
Was it Capo? Michael Franzesi said that Kuklinski is, quote, a pathological. Yep.
He came to our school, bro.
Did he?
Yeah, he came to our school in high school.
Who?
Michael
that at all.
Franzese. He talked about like
I always went to the other gym. You know how you could like just go to the other gym and sit while there was shit go. I always just went over there.
Oh yeah, dude, you missed Mike Franzese talking about like turning his life around and how he used to be in the mafia and not everybody gets
he was
out.
probably one of those motherfuckers that was like, "Good morning." And was like,
No.
Come on, you can do better than that.
No, he definitely didn't do that. He was like, "Look, I'm here to tell you." He was like, "I was making millions of dollars a day. It was amazing. A day." He's like, would I do it again? Absolutely. And I'm sitting there in the stands as like an impressionable fucking 15-year-old kid, and I'm like, oh, so my dad was an asshole when he told me.
With a fairly Italian last name.
Right. And my dad, I was like, my dad's an asshole for telling me crime doesn't pay. That shit pays really fucking well.
He's like, don't do drugs.
Yeah. No, he didn't. He was a numbers guy.
Mm.
He liked to fuck around with numbers and like intimidate witnesses and stuff.
Literally fuck around with numbers.
Yeah, dude, he does a bunch of really cool interviews. Like he's been on Vlad TV on YouTube, and he was in what was that Michael Jordan documentary?
I forget what it's called.
The Save the Last Dance.
Yeah.
Or The Last Dance or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Save
yeah.
the Last Dance was that dancing movie.
Uh-huh.
But
Sure.
But yeah, he was in that talking about like Jordan's gambling and stuff. Like he was the guy. So he's a cool dude.
So Franzese, oh shit. Okay. You know what? I might have fucked up one of the questions, so hopefully you guys were paying attention. I might have given it away.
What was the name of the guy?
Yeah, no. But let's see. So the guy who hung out at our high school one day and told a bunch of impressionable kids with slightly Italian last names that they could make millions of dollars a day said that he was definitely not part of the crew. He also said that he was a pathological liar and said that I spent 25 years in that life on the street and I never heard his name mentioned once. Not once. Kuklinski claimed that at some times he would dump bodies in caves in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. He would dump bodies in some of the lakes around there, in some of the rivers. He would do, obviously, we know barrels are a big thing for him. But you know what? I'm going to change, man. I mentioned the answer to this question. I'm trying to figure out how I can change it real quick, but I really got nothing.
I would say either go through it and hope, because I mean they saw the documentary too, so it's
true, but I've straight up mentioned this, forgetting that I made it a question. Whatever.
Or
just
you can leave it out, and then that'll give us an odd number of questions.
But it basically makes it to where Ashley can't catch up.
True. Okay. Run the question.
But if they both know it, it's the same thing as leaving it out. So I'm sorry.
Yeah. Nope,
I'm sorry either way. Question number 11. He had another method of murder that involved an animal or animals. What animal was that? Was it A, dogs, B, rats, C, sharks, or D, alligators?
I feel like I know the
Dogs,
answer, but
rats,
I want it to be sharks.
Sharks, alligators, sharks with freaking lasers on their heads.
I was just gonna write that.
Were you? We both got. You don't have. You better say the right thing. Stop.
Okay. Hey, listen. There's no prize, so if he throws it, that's brownie points, baby.
Yeah, Dustin says sharks with lasers. Ashley said rats.
So yeah, as rat, sorry, I'm dumb. He claims to have fed his victims to, like, basically the way he tells the story is that he found like some rats in a cave, right? And he noticed that they liked the taste of flesh, so he would like take meat in there and feed them and shit. And then every now and again he would have a victim, and he would take the victim in. And he said the first way he got them to eat was like he would soak rawhide, get it all soft again, and he would like press it to his victim, so when it would start to dry up, it would start pinching on them. And the rats would come, and they would eat the rawhide, and they would eventually go for the people. And he's like, yeah, and I always put them on their balls. Like, if you do a lot of Kuklinski stuff, he did a lot of testicular torture. Like road flares. He did a road flare at some point.
Yeah.
According to him.
Those are phosphorus, aren't they?
Yeah, they burn hot.
Yeah.
But basically, so he said, yeah, the rat's got a taste for the human meat. And so he said that he would, like, take humans there. He would come back in a couple days, and there would be nothing but bones. However, in 2013, the Philadelphia Inquirer noted that the caves have a lot of visitors yearly since Kuklinski's time, and not once have any human remains ever been discovered. Also, local cave enthusiast Richard Kranzel said that the idea of flesh-eating rats in that cave are very low because the only rats that you ever really encounter in these caves are, quote, cave rats, which are very reclusive and shy creatures, and definitely not fierce and blood-hungry, as Kuklinski would claim. I like that there's like a guy like, listen, mister, the rats in there are not... Yeah.
They're not your average New York City sewer rat.
And that's kind of like what Kuklinski was describing. It was like giant, like biggest Chihuahua sewer rats living in these caves. And this guy's like, well, that pretty much didn't happen. Actually... So law enforcement officers also doubt that he stored a corpse for 2 years in a Mr. Softy truck. This is with Robert Pronge, which we'll talk about a little bit. Which leads us to, in an interview in documentaries, Kuklinski says that he killed 38-year-old Robert Joseph Pronge, who was a mentor to him. Pronge was murdered on August 10th, 1984, shot multiple times in the head, and was subsequently discovered in his Mr. Softy ice cream truck.
That was
so
my
Pronge was also like... that and whiskey, dick. Pronge, according to Kuklinski, was like again, like a mentor to him. He like kind of showed him how to kill. He showed him like, oh, freezing a body is a pretty good idea. You can freeze a body. Like, basically, I think he said Pronge was like serving ice cream out of the same freezer he like had a frozen body in for a couple years. Like, be careful which Mr. Softy truck you buy from, huh?
Would that not taint the flavor of the ice cream? Like,
you said that smell
never...
was sweet.
Yeah, well, but I mean, like,
yeah, but if they're frozen, they're not decomposing. It
Frozen,
bloated and exploded, not frozen and decomposing.
I didn't come here tonight and expect to get bars dropped.
That's the thing about me, Greg, is I'm a lyrical wordsmith, motherfucking genius.
Voice of a generation.
Yeah. Dibs on both those band names. Bloated and Exploded, not and Frozen, not Decomposing.
It's the first album.
Yeah, exactly. There are some people that believe that like he had nothing to do with Prongay. Like basically, like he heard about the murder of Prongay and made it his and made up a whole story behind it. Because like if you're a pathological liar, why not look up like, oh, there was this violent death. I knew that guy. He was a mentor of mine. Like who's gonna dispute it? Like he's dead. Because there's a couple different ways in which Prongay died and the way that Kuklinski said that it happened that are much different, including like where he was shot, how many times he was shot, things like that. So
The fact that he wasn't shot at all, he was stabbed.
yeah, the robbery was not considered a motive at the time, and Prongay had been about to go on trial for blowing up the front door of his ex-wife's house. Yeah, you can't keep me out, bitch.
That actually might be reasonable, though. We don't know their relationship. It sounds like it might have been tumultuous at best. So an exploding front door maybe within the realm of reasonable.
Very Joker. Kuklinski said that Prongay taught him to use cyanide and other methods to kill, and it was Prongay who told him to freeze the body of Robert Maskey. However, Kuklinski said that he killed Prongay after he threatened his family, and law enforcement officials have considered Kuklinski a prime suspect in the murder since 1986. But the director of the New Jersey Division of Criminal Justice said no charges were sought against Kuklinski, who was convicted of other major crimes. In 1993, in response to his claims, Hudson County prosecutors said new charges against Kuklinski were possible since the Prongay murder was still an open investigation, and they would assess whether there was enough evidence to prosecute him. Ultimately, no charges were brought against Kuklinski for the Prongay murder. So, again, we're kind of going through ones here where, like, Kuklinski was like, no, yeah, that was 5-year portion of my life, and then there are people that are like, you probably actually didn't know him at all.
We lived on opposite sides of the country, ran in different circles, had absolutely nothing to do with each other. And
well, also, like, he said he was, I worked with the DeCavalcantes in the 5 major New York, and then there are people that are like, no, he didn't, not ever once. So
listen, I'm not saying I work with the 5 families, but if I worked with the 5 families, this guy didn't. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, and how many people did he kill that maybe, like, he did kill them and he thought they were somebody and they weren't, so he just killed a bunch of random people.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's.
I like that.
I mean,
I like that theory. He's just out there killing like bums, and
he's
Well, he
saying
was
there's
killing
somebody-
bums. Remember, that was
Yeah,
like where he says that he started was he's killed as many as 50 homeless men.
just got himself
Yeah,
delusions
and
of grandeur.
he hears that somebody famous has been killed, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I just did that last night on the street. There's somebody random."
Yeah.
I fed him a poison hamburger.
So, yeah, Prongay be blowing up front doors. Kuklinski claimed to have killed 42-year-old Gambino crime family member Roy Albert DeMeo in the mayonnaise in an interview for the 1993 book The Iceman, the true story of a cold-blooded killer by Anthony Bruno. He described DeMeo as a mentor of his. This is his thing. He's like, oh, he's a mentor, but I fucking killed him.
I would not mentor this guy.
After he fell behind on a loan to distribute pornography, he received a beating. Richard did. The two later became business partners, and Kuklinski says DeMeo taught him how to murder for hire and it could be a great way to make money. However, author Jerry Capacci said that who has written extensively about DeMeo and the Mafia, doubts Kuklinski killed DeMeo or had close ties to the DeMeo crew at all. Most sources indicate DeMeo was killed by members of his crew, with no suggestion Kuklinski had any involvement. Kuklinski is not mentioned in Capacci and Gene Mustaine's book about the DeMeo crew, Murder Machine, or Albert DeMeo's account of his father's life in the mob for The Sins of My Father. Philip Carlo, whose biography of Kuklinski includes the claim that he killed DeMeo, acknowledged in the postscript to a later edition that this claim was probably untrue. So Kuklinski's getting burned, dude. That's what I feel like right now.
Is it possible that he is in all these books? They're like, and then an unknown assailant murdered this guy.
Well, and that's a point that the last podcast guys make, is that like nobody knew his name. Like some people knew him as like the Pollock. Some people, like very few people knew him as the Iceman. And
No, that's
big
what
guy.
they called me. That's the nickname, dude.
Yeah, but
Big guy.
could he also, because he's already caught and he's already in prison, be taking the rap for other people?
Serial confessors, they call him. Henry Lee Lucas was very likely probably one of the more famous serial confessors. He'd basically be like, "Yeah, you give me a carton of cigarettes and a milkshake, and I'll tell you I murdered anybody."
Yeah.
But I think she means like in for the benefit of other people though. So like instead of
like taking
just
He's like taking crimes off of the mob. He's like, "Fuck it, I'm already
like,
here."
I'm
Right,
already
like he's,
here. I might
yeah.
as well claim it, and I'll
Hey,
take care of my
listen.
family. You know.
Like Kevin Garnett, anything is possible. The only thing is that his family didn't really get taken care of. She had to make like a bunch of book deals and TV deals and things like that.
Yeah, that $300 didn't go very far.
Nope.
no, it went straight to the bankrupt agency. Like
Yeah.
they just took it. They came in like with a team of repo guys and carried it out in singles.
In 2001, in a 2001 HBO interview, Kuklinski confessed to killing 36-year-old NYPD officer Peter Anthony Calabro, who was ambushed and shot dead by an unknown gunman on March 14th, 1980. Calabro was rumored to have mob connections and was investigated for selling confidential information to the Gambino family. His wife, Carmela, drowned under mysterious circumstances 3 years earlier, and members of her family believe Calabro was responsible. At the time, his murder was thought by law enforcement officials to be revenge, either carried out or arranged by his deceased wife's relatives. Her brothers were regarded as, quote, key suspects, but the crime remained unsolved. The Bergen County prosecutor believed Kuklinski's confession to be a fabrication, and his successor decided to proceed with the case. In February of 2003, Kuklinski was charged with Calabro's murder and received another sentence of 30 years. This was considered a waste because it was during multiple life sentences, plus he would be ineligible for parole until he was 111 years old. Describing the murder, Kuklinski said he parked his van on one side of a narrow road, forcing other drivers to slow pass. He lay in a snowbank behind his van until Calabro came by at 2 a.m. He then stepped out and shot him in the head with the sawed-off shotgun, decapitating Calabro. He actually he's like, you ever seen like when a pumpkin gets shot and it just explodes? It was like that.
Yeah, that's how the tapes one starts. That's like the beginning of it, and because that's what Dustin was like. You've never heard? You got to watch this. And the first like 5 minutes is him describing that.
Yeah, he was all talking about how he didn't know that it was gonna do that to him. He's all just took it.
Yeah, it's kind of fucking cool if I'm being honest. He stated that he was unaware that Calabro was a police officer, but said that he probably would have murdered him anyway.
Why did he lay there and wait for him till 2 a.m.?
Because he was a contracted kill. They were like, "Hey, we need this guy dead." And Kuklinski's like, "All right, yeah, you got it, buddy."
What a fucking hack! He doesn't even do his research and know that this guy's a cop. Like, you're bringing all kinds of undue heat on yourself. Pay the fuck attention, bro.
Yeah, he's also the guy who like had hella good business deals set up. He's like, "Yeah, but if I kill him right now, I can just have that money."
That's true.
Kuklinski claimed he was paid to kill Calabro by Gambino crime family soldier Sammy the Bull Gravano, and the Bull provided the murder weapon. Gravano, serving a 20-year sentence in Arizona for drugs, was also indicted for the murder. Kuklinski was set to testify against him, and Gravano denied any involvement in Calabro's death and rejected the plea bargain, under which he would receive no additional jail time if he confessed to the crime and informed all of his accomplices. This is about the time where Richard Kuklinski got Kawasaki disease. So a lot of people think that because Richard Kuklinski was going to prosecute or speak against Sammy the Bull Gravano, that he got I can't remember if it was, I think it was mercury poisoning. Like the Kawasaki disease symptoms are similar to mercury poisoning, not cyanide. But
I think I still like to think that he got Kawasaki disease and was just like ripping around on a little down the street on like a little motorcycle. What happened? Got Kawasaki's, bro.
Kawasaki of the brain.
Oh, I usually get Hondas. Yeah, you look like an idiot right now. Gravano would eventually deny involvement in Calabro's death, rejecting the plea bargain. Basically the plea bargain was like, we're not going to give you any more jail, right? The charges against Gravano were dropped after Kuklinski's death in 2006. Also in the 2001 HBO interview, Secrets of a Mafia Hitman, Kuklinski said that he knew who killed 62-year-old former Teamsters Union president Jimmy Hoffa.
James freaking Hoffa.
Kuklinski did not claim any personal involvement in Hoffa's disappearance and presumed murder and did not identify any culprit. However, later he claimed that he killed Hoffa. In his account, Kuklinski was part of a 4-man kidnap team. They grabbed Hoffa in Detroit. While they were in the car, Kuklinski killed Hoffa by stabbing him with a large hunting knife. He said he drove Hoffa's corpse from Detroit to New Jersey junkyard, and it was placed in a drum, set on fire, and then buried in a junkyard. Later, fearing an accomplice might snitch, the drum was disinterred. Question number 12.
So if you hit this,
What-
you tie
what's
it up.
Can I?
Is that what it is right now?
say
It's
what
only
I
250-point game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I say what I think?
So Ashley needs to get this, Dustin needs to miss it, and then we'll have to go to an artistic challenge or something, because we're basically done here.
Let's see.
So, question number 12. After disinterring the barrel, what did they do with it? Did they A, fill it with concrete, then sink it? B, bury it somewhere else? C, send it over Niagara Falls? Or D, compact it in the trunk of a car? Fill it with concrete, then sink it, bury it somewhere else, send it over Niagara Falls, compact it in the trunk of a car.
Yeah, we knew that one.
Ooh, they both say D.
I
Which
was gonna ask to
means-
just do it.
Dustin is going to get the victory. Yes, he claims that it was placed in the trunk of a car, compacted into a cube, and was sold as scrap metal along with hundreds of other compacted cars, and it was shipped off to Japan to be made into new cars. So technically, Jimmy Hoffa is probably like a Honda or a Kawasaki.
Ooh,
Uh,
the way it
Deputy
comes full
Chief-
circle.
Deputy
okay.
Chief Bob Buccino, who worked on the Kuklinski case, said they took a body from Detroit, where they have one of the biggest lakes in the world, and drove it all the way back to New Jersey, huh? Come on. Buccino added, we didn't believe a lot of things that Kuklinski said. Former FBI Special Agent Robert Garrity stated that Kuklinski's admission to killing Hoffa was a hoax, and that Kuklinski was never a suspect in Hoffa's disappearance ever, adding, I've never even heard of him. Anthony Bruno said that he investigated Kuklinski's alleged involvement in Hoffa's disappearance, but felt his story didn't check out. He opined Kuklinski made the confession to, quote, add extra value to his brand, and so he omitted the story from the biography of Kuklinski. And that, my friends, is what I was able to keep in to the story of the Iceman, Richard Kuklinski. Like I said, watch these HBO interviews. Listen to the last podcast on the Left series. If you guys listen to podcasts, it's 4.5 hours for the total, all three, and it's a very good listen. So I drive around for like 13 hours a day these days, 4 days a week. So I can literally finish like a pretty long book in one day. It's kind of nice.
Yeah,
I've read so many goddamn books this month.
that's really positive.
It's great. But check those out if you want. Thank you, Dustin and Ashley, for being here. Dustin, you got a victory lap. What do you want to say? Anything you want to?
I just want to talk about my favorite killing that he did that you didn't mention. The door, the peephole.
Oh yeah. Like he saw the light from the peephole.
Yeah,
Mm.
he's all what
Yeah.
what people don't realize is you could see inside those peepholes if there's lights on inside the house. So he would stand there and wait for someone to look through it, and then just blow their fucking head off.
You just wait to see the light interrupted.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying though.
I've
like,
seen that in
and
movies.
that's
You.
yes, your favorite kill. That was a good kill. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, like what I didn't include could totally be another episode on its
Yeah.
own. And last podcast did 4.5 hours on it for a reason. There is a lot to get to and a lot to go through. So check out some of those other sources I mentioned, and check out that last podcast. Check out the HBO series if you have Max or whatever the fuck it's called this month.
Yeah.
Got him.
Yeah. So
There goes
remember
our
too, to
sponsorship
check-
deal, but whatever.
Yeah, damn it. Remember to check us out on everything. You guys just go to serialchillerspod.com if you want to reach us in any way. You can do everything from there. Like I said, if you're hearing this now and you're having issues with receiving your Patreon stuff, reach out to us. Do it from the email or from the phone number. If you do it in one of those two ways, you will get a hold of one of us. If you want to give to the Patreon, we appreciate it. We are getting caught up on everything, so don't be scared of these things we're saying right now. We don't expect it, but we appreciate it. It's very helpful to us. Again, with us being across the country, we're still sort of working on the technical aspects and how to make it easier and at the highest quality. And we're definitely needing some new things. And we have an office over there. So if you guys can help, we'd appreciate it. If you can't, cool, just keep listening, dude. That's not why we do it. But also, I've been throwing this out there. If you don't want to do the monthly thing, you go to serialkillerspod.com. There's like a donate to the cause button. And that you can make a one-time donation there. So if you want to, I mean, even if it's $1, whatever, it helps us. It goes into the account. We're able to buy things with it because we do books each week for a lot of this stuff too. It's the little things that add up. We want to make the best quality show for you. It's a good way to help us if you can. You can also go to the Threadless store still. Ashley's wearing one of the hoodies from the Threadless store right now. We're an audio only medium now, so you're just gonna have to trust me that every time someone comes in, they're wearing Serial Killers merchandise. So you guys should too.
Yeah, they're comfy.
They are comfy. I will say that. So, Dustin, congrats on your victory.
Thank you.
What a strange, weird coincidence that you guys just watched this.
Yeah, no. I love
this
it.
fucking Ashley, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Happy Halloween.
This
When
will
this
be right
comes out.
around the spooky time. Yeah, exactly. So happy Halloween,
Hail
everybody.
Satan.
I already started Satan. I already started decorating over here at my house. I'm really trying to let South Carolina know who we are, and plus Danny's not going to be here for Halloween, so I'm just going to do it my way, you know. Ashley, anything you want to throw out there before we wrap up here?
Bye.
Yeah. Greg.
What?
You know. What do you gotta say to him?
Lonelyfanswith2z's.com. It is a real website. Enough people have been like, wow, is that really a website? Like, yes, you can go to it. We own the domain, lonelyfanswith2z's.com.
It's not a joke, and it will get through all of your work filters too.
I don't know if it's not a joke, but
it's not a joke that it's real.
Yeah, it exists, and so yeah, you go there, you're automatically signed up, you get sent my nudes, and you pay to stop. That's it. That's the end of my friggin' report. Like,
love it.
Yeah.
How much do we gotta pay?
It depends. Like, if you want to just stop getting like the basic stuff, it's only a few bucks a month. If you really want to stop getting like the graphic stuff, that's more expensive.
As I exit out of it on my phone.
Yeah. Oh no, you're in there. You're in it to win it now.
Yeah, it's your cookies. It knows who you are.
Delete your browsing history. That's fine. It won't work.
My whole phone.
Oh shit. Well, thank you guys for coming out. I appreciate you making the trip out to the studio. We'll have you guys on again very soon, I'm sure. Greg, thanks for putting everything together out there. I wish I could put hands on things and help you plug stuff in. And
yeah, I wish you could put hands on things too, pal.
Oh shit, the good old days, huh? What? I appreciate you guys. I wish I was there on the best coast with you, especially because it's only like 8 o'clock there, and I'm already running out of the night. So thank you guys for coming out, man. Appreciate it a lot. Thank you everybody for listening. If anybody else has anything to add here at the end,
we love you.
Love you back. And I love all you guys out there. Thanks for listening, and remember, don't talk to strangers. Okay, bye.